Today on Locked On Red Wings, the Four Nations face-off faces off. Are you excited for it?
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty's a host over at the Locked On Waiting on Alex Bregman podcast and a sports writer for C&G newspaper. Well, I am a color commentator for Oakland University, ACHA D1 men's hockey. Scotty, was that joke funnier the second time I said it?
Yeah, I think it had a similar reception here on this end.
Okay.
Because I don't disagree with you. It's I'm trying to move along with the off season and now like the spring training calendar, like all this stuff I have scheduled to talk about for spring training and for camp starting up and everything, and it just feels like it's like, can I really? Like we're still waiting on one of the biggest free agents in the market, and the Tigers are a finalist on him. It's made it kind of tricky. We got to tightrope our way through it, but pitchers and catchers report today, so we're almost back, baby.
We are almost back, and I am personally big Tigers fan myself. Clearly not as big as you. I mean, you know all the advanced analytics, but me and Allison's she's more willing to watch the Tigers and the Red Wings. We just pretty much watch every single day while we eat dinner. So really excited for that to come back. Meanwhile, the Four Nations face-off is set to kick off between Team Sweden and Team Canada today. And I mean, the big question I've had on my mind is, are people even excited for it? I said in last week's episode, I'm not really all that excited for it. But I got some pushback in the comments from people who were. So, Scotty, I wanted to ask you, like, Four Nations face-off, Canada, Sweden, Finland, USA. Are you actually looking forward to this tournament, or are you just ready to get right back into Red Wings hockey?
I am looking forward to getting back into Red Wings hockey. I think, if that is the one or the other that I am choosing from, then I'm choosing just continue the regular season. However, I will also say that I'm looking forward to this far more than I am the normal All-Star break, which is, and if that's the goal, if that's the bar, which I feel like that it kind of has to be the bar, that's what you're comparing it to, right? Is a normal All-Star break, then it probably is a success to some extent. I think a lot of that will depend on, the effort level. We've become accustomed to very low effort hockey in the All-Star game. So I think a lot of, the reception of the event and of the tournament will probably come down to just like how hard the players play. And like, I've never been upset at the players for kind of like sandbagging the All-Star break either. Like, those games don't matter. Like, I don't know why. I don't know why you would go like crazy over the top for a meaningless game, and you're trying to make a second half push, stay healthy, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know. I think this will be kind of interesting if there's a little bit more effort involved and they're competitive, good hockey games because you're playing for your country. Then maybe it'll be I don't know, more competitive. Is that the word? Maybe it'll be just I don't know. Like I said, I guess better hockey in general. But I think that it just depends on what you're asking me to compare it to. If you're asking me to compare it to the regular season coming back, I'm going to say that I would just much rather we just go back into the regular season. But if you're asking me to compare it to my normal attentiveness for the NHL All-Star game, I am significantly more interested in this tournament than I am the traditional NHL All-Star weekend.
Yeah, my feelings on it overall are pretty mixed. Like, as it gets closer, I do find myself looking forward to it a little bit more, but I think that's more to do with the fact that I don't have Red Wings hockey to watch, and it's hockey. Like, it's hockey I can watch. Yeah. And it is a best-on-best competition, and that is exciting, right? Probably the four best nations, excluding Russia, obviously for reasons that are pretty obvious, is not participating in this tournament, are the four best hockey nations in the world. And I do wonder too, like I'm a little bummed that it's not more than four teams, although I understand like the time restriction with how long this tournament is, and plus this being NHL only players, right? It'd be really hard to roster a German roster, but obviously Moritz Seider would be on that. So like part of me is like, I wish there were more teams. I would still prefer to get back to NHL hockey faster. But at the same time, this is, I think, going to be a better product than the All-Star Game was. Like, All-Star Game got a little rejuvenated when they switched to the 3-on-3 tournament. But after a couple years, the novelty wore off quickly, and it went back to players just sandbagging. And I'll be honest with you, Scotty, and we won't truly know until we start watching it. Players can say all they want, oh, how excited they are. That's just PR. We're not going to know how they actually feel about this international tournament of NHL players until the puck drops and we get to watch these games. Because I do wonder if it's just going to be a glorified All-Star Game in which, like you were mentioning, players are going to continue to sandbag because it's not the Olympics. It's an NHL-run tournament for teams with players that are trying to preserve themselves for the playoffs. So how much will Sidney Crosby, who's been banged up but is going to play through it, how much is Connor McDavid, Dylan Larkin, and Lucas Raymond going to actually put forth in this tournament while trying to keep in check and be wary of the fact to not get injured? And, I think Beer League Chump posted it on Twitter earlier today, and I want to give him full credit, or yesterday, where he thinks that this is going to be two teams just kind of sandbagging it, and then in the third period, someone's going to decide they want to win. And so you'll see like 20 minutes of good action. I think that's a very realistic expectation. Again, we're not going to know until the games get played, but I keep thinking to myself, I'm like, why would these players risk injury and possibly miss out on a Stanley Cup when this isn't a true international competition? You know what I mean? But I maybe they have their reasons. Again, I'm not going to truly know.
Yeah, and again, it just depends on what your bar is. That sounds significantly better than whatever the heck the NHL has been rolling out for All-Star Weekend the last X amount of years, right? Like, is that the best product in the world? No. Is there a perfect solution to, the midway point in the season? Is there a true solution to, what is the perfect All-Star week, All-Star break type of event? I'm not sure there is right now, but if you can make this, again, just more entertaining and a better product than the All-Star Game, then I think it's a win. I don't think it has to be Olympic caliber play to be still considered a win in the eyes of the NHL and the fans.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good way of summarizing it. Like, I'm going to go in it with an open mind. I'm going to leave myself open to having fun because I think best case scenario, it is fun. It's fast-paced hockey, probably not overly physical. You see a lot of skill get flashed. Yeah. I think it'll be fun. Worst case scenario, it's an absolute snooze fest, and this experiment ends at 1 year. But
and if it's a snooze fest, then it's no different than every other year's All-Star break. So it can't be worse is my point. Like, right. I'm down to give it a shot because at worst, it's just the same level of entertainment. Like, it's not going to be worse than what they've been doing.
I think that's perfect. Like, it'll be more fun than the All-Star Game. It'll probably still not be as good as just watching the Red Wings play hockey and waiting an extra few days for that to happen. But, Scotty, we're going to do a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about lines for Sweden and USA because I was a little bit shocked by where the Red Wings' two players, representatives, were slotted in each respective lineup. So stay tuned to segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings. Looking to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor makes eating well easy with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals that are fresh, never frozen, and ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences every week, you can customize your meals to fit your lifestyle, whether it's Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Plus, Factor even offers wholesome smoothies, breakfasts, and grab-and-go snacks to keep you fueled all day long. You're going to love how Factor takes the stress out of meal planning. The convenience is unbeatable. No prep, no mess, just great food in minutes. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL50 off and use code LockedOnNHL50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code LockedOnNHL 50 off at factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Holy cow, they really want to make sure you know it's Locked On NHL 50 off.
Okay.
I thought I was going insane.
Brian crashed out there.
I starting to crash out at the end of that read. All right, Scotty, segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. The lines from practice leaked for each respective team. Obviously, I want to focus here on USA and Sweden because Red Wings have Larkin and Lucas Raymond going. And the first one I want to take a peek at here, Scotty, is that they have Dylan Larkin not just playing winger, but they have him playing winger on the fourth line.
Yeah,
which
and not
shocking.
only, you can even go further, not only winger on the fourth line, they have him as a part of a rotation. They're rotating him in and out of the lineup in practice as a fourth line winger.
Yes. And I did see other reports saying that Kreider was rotating in, but it's Larkin who's going to be playing. But it's insane to me. And I understand, like, USA's loaded, right? I don't expect him to be the center over, like, Jack Eichel or Austin Matthews. But for him not to be center at all over Vincent Trocheck or JT Miller was honestly shocking to me, specifically because we've praised Dylan Larkin so much for his all-around solid play at center. This is a guy who has a career over 50% face-off percentage, has been crushing it all year long. He's not afraid to engage in board battles, and he wins. I think I saw a statistic. I don't have it right in front of me, but he was one of the leading centers at winning puck battles along the boards. And, like, that's a guy you want to be playing center because center is the most involved position on the ice. And instead, he's playing fourth-line winger while JT Miller and Vincent Trocheck play center. And I'm not going to try and take anything away from those two guys, right? Because they're very good, right? Vincent Trocheck this season, he does have a face-off win percentage this year of 60%. That is astonishing. And JT Miller himself has a win percentage of close to 55%. But Dylan Larkin's no slouch either. And I just thought it was stunning, especially because JT Miller is having a down year, right? He only has 39 points in 45 games played, that he would be center over Dylan Larkin. Now, granted, that points per game is pretty similar, but just Dylan Larkin, I feel, is, I wouldn't say disrespected, right? I put that on the sidebar, invoke a little bit of emotion out of our listeners, but I am shocked that he's playing wing, because this is a guy who's top-line center on a team that's pushing for a playoff spot.
Yeah, man, I really thought that he was going to be the fourth line center. That was kind of like my expectation going into this, that he was going to be the 4C. And just the like him being a part of a rotation. And like, I understand, that he is probably going to be the one that's playing, as you mentioned, but that it really did surprise me too. I'm interested if that is something that is shuffleable or if he's going to be in certain, like special team situations. But like, really, if he's down in the fourth line, I would imagine not. Like, there's obviously a lot of talent on that team, and they can probably fill pretty much any situation they want with somebody above him on the lineup card. So I'm just as surprised as you.
And I mean, part of this is just because USA is so deep at the center position, right? Like, so it's not overly shocking that someone like Larkin would get pushed on the outside. But I just was, because Larkin's faceoff percentage this year is 56%. It's right in line with what JT Miller is doing, and his production is the same as well. But you don't have all the other stuff. Like, Larkin's a better defensive forward than JT Miller. So why are you having the worst defensive forward playing center? But again, part of it's just because the depth is so deep, and like you said, like, it is shuffleable. It is something that as they get closer, this might change. That was lines from practice, and after a game or two, it might shift. So it's out there for a possibility.
Yeah, just weird, man. I was fully expecting him to be the fourth line center, and was surprised when that was not the case.
But yes, I don't want to make this bigger than it is. I was just taken aback considering how good of a year Larkin is having and has had the last 3 straight years, and is a significantly good center at that. So I was just taken aback. Lucas Raymond, almost said Lindstrom. We don't have Lindstrom anymore, as much as I wish we did. He is playing on the third line as winger with Eriksson Ek and Jesper Bratt. Honestly, I don't have as much of an issue with this, specifically because it depends on how deployments are used. And they could deploy that kind of like how we deploy the Rasmussen line right now, right? That's a line that's playing pretty well and is getting a lot of offensive zone time. They could get deployed in the offensive zone when they have offensive zone, and Jesper Bratt and Lucas Raymond are a hell of a duo to have in the offensive zone.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited for Raymond just in general in this tournament. And again, like part of that is just going to be dependent on how much effort is put into this by all the players. But if this is, competitive hockey being played, I'm really, really excited to see just like what Raymond can do on a big stage like that, but B, just kind of more so like sharing his talent with everyone. I mean, obviously anybody who follows hockey really closely is aware of how good he is. And obviously the fan base, the Detroit fan base, is very well aware of how good he is at this point. But I feel like he maybe still doesn't get the national attention of a guy that's on pace for like around 90 points. So I'm just really excited for him to be on, like a national scale like that for everybody to kind of see. And I hope that he can take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, Philip Forsberg and Richard Raquel are over him on the right wing side, which is shocking because Raymond, of those three, right, for Forsberg, Raquel, and Raymond, he's the only one who's over a point per game right now. But they're trying to figure out line chemistry, I'm sure. And he is a winger, like true tried winger. They'll figure it out. I'm less worried about that. I was just taken aback by the fact that Larkin wasn't playing center at any of the lines because I thought he'd be a lock considering how good he is at on both sides of the ice, winning faceoffs and winning board battles. That just kind of surprised me a little. And he's productive. So,
yeah, I agree.
Other lines in this tournament, I want to just tell you, have you seen these Team Canada power play lines?
So, okay, that's actually really messed up. This was like something I had written down and was going to bring up that I really wanted to talk about. Because I was talking about it with my roommate last night while they were, coming out. I genuinely think Canada's power play one is like, I think there's an argument that is the most talented power play ever assembled in the history of hockey. And like, I'm not saying it's the best five players that have ever been on the ice together or that it necessarily even is like the best power play ever assembled. And certainly there's some great, like all-star teams over the years or Olympic teams over the years that give it a run for its money. But golly, man, like there's an argument that if you were to build a perfect power play, like you're maybe just subbing in Matthews for one of those guys away from just already it being like the perfect power play.
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of Team Canada, power play one was Crosby, McKinnon, Makar, McDavid, and Reinhart.
Right.
That is absurd. I mean, you're talking about 40-goal scorer, 50-goal scorer, 40-goal scorer. What is Matthews? McDavid capped out in his career. I mean, he's a 120-point scorer at minimum.
Right.
I mean, Makar's gotten close to 100 point or 70 or 80 points. It's just absolutely insane type of. It might be the best power play ever assembled. And there's recency bias, right? I wasn't alive when Gretzky was in his prime.
And Crosby, for as talented as an offensive weapon as he still is, obviously is not like prime Crosby. So like I'm sure people will poke holes in it and find lineup cards that probably are maybe more impressive, but you'll be far-fetched in 2025 to assemble a better power play in really any scenario.
Yeah. We're going to head to another quick break. When we return, we'll talk about the NHL possibly testing a 3-point system in this tournament as well. So stay tuned to segment 3 of Lockdown Red Wings. But first, an ad read by Scotty Bentley because somebody's allergic to this product and can't do the read himself.
We'll talk about that right here. All right, got to talk to y'all about our new friends over at Wonderful Pistachios. If you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Pistachios, is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you feel fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. My stepbrother and I go through them by the handful, and it is the perfect grab and go snack for busy days, whether I'm snacking at my desk, on a road trip, or just need quick protein boost. They're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a favorite as well. So get snackin' and get crackin' with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
Oh, we're switched.
Get out of here.
That's my side. That's my side. Stop. No, we're trying to both do it at the same time.
Jeez.
Get off my side.
I gotta say, get snackin' and get crackin'. The snack that packs a protein punch might be the best sentence in ad read history.
It is a bar.
That is an absolute heater.
You were reading off all the benefits of eating pistachios, and it made me feel bad about myself.
You
Can't
should
have it. Can't eat pistachios.
You should feel bad about yourself.
I mean, I could eat pistachios. It's ill-advised. Scotty, segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Last thing I want to talk about in terms of the four-nation face-off. Again, Sweden, Canada facing off today on TNT or HBO Max if you have HBO Max, or it's just Max now. Is the NHL is testing out a 3-point system this tournament. I saw NHL and Sirius XM tweeted that out, and it tickled my fancy. It piqued my interest, what shall they say, because that's not something the NHL does with their regular standings. It's very common in college hockey and in international play. And I wonder if, part of me is wondering if this is them testing the waters on maybe trying this at the NHL level. And I do understand, too, that this is a 2-week tournament and you're having round robin to decide who goes to the finals. So having the 3-point system is going to make it easier to prevent ties and determine a finals. But also, it just makes me wonder, and I was wondering if you thought this too, if they could be testing the waters for this at the NHL level, because I personally would largely endorse a 3-point system.
Yeah, well, I think after, you talk about recency bias, I think after last year with the Wings, a lot of people probably, probably would welcome that. It's interesting because there are several other hockey leagues that do a 3-point system. I'm fairly confident that the PWHL does a 3-point system. And I think there was actually a great article that was written about this. I want to say like a year ago now, like February, January of 2024 over at The Athletic, and just about kind of the rundown of what a 3-point system would look like. I think, again, maybe it's just because of what happened with the Wings last year, but like, how could you not want this a little bit more? Like the fact that a loss in overtime is half as valuable as a win is ridiculous to me. You know what I mean? Like that feels way too skewed in the losing team's favor, as we have seen plenty of times over the last several years, or over the last lot of years. So I am all for it. At a minimum, I'm for testing the waters on it and seeing if it works in a smaller sample size like this. But I have a feeling that if that were the case, I don't even know what that. I just said that. I don't even know what that means in this context. I think that if it ends up being even remotely solid, that this is something that everybody is going to get on board with pretty quickly.
If they do the 3-point system at the NHL, that's 3 points for a regulation win, 2 points for an overtime or shootout win, and 1 point for an overtime and shootout
that's
loss.
The PWHL, right?
That's what pretty much every league in the
Right.
world
Yeah,
does.
I was gonna say I'm fairly confident that's what the PWHL system is too.
Right, but I'm a huge proponent of the 3-point system because it helps vary the how teams are getting their points and helps improve parity as well. And it just makes sense, right? Like why is winning in overtime and treated the same as winning in regulation? I don't think it should be. And almost every other league in the world agrees. Either that or get rid of the loser point altogether.
And you're completely right about the different value in wins. Mine is even more so the different value in losses. Like that is the part that's truly mind-boggling to me. I'm okay if you want to throw a team that lost in overtime a bone and be like, hey, here's a third of a win, then like there you go. That's I guess a little bit more plausible and a little bit easier to swallow. But like I think it is wild that you can force a game into overtime, lose, and have it be worth half of a win. Like that is so disproportionate in my head. I have no issues with this, and I'd be really interested to see what kind of momentum it gains after this tournament.
Yeah, 100%. All right, Scotty, I got everything out of my system.
Yeah. Really, I was going to use this time to talk about Canada's power play. So you stole my thunder there. So that's pretty much all I got.
Let's go. Love stealing Scotty's thunder. So, all right, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll start our player evaluations as well as recapping the game against Sweden and Canada.
Mid-season evals, baby, a staple here.
Let's go. So stay tuned. We ball, right? We ball. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.